أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أرواحنا له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe this is now our 11th session of the tafsir, or an insight into Ziyarat Jamiah Kabirah. This is a live session, so we have the opportunity to have questions and these kinds of things. If you want to put it on the chat, you are most welcome. We want to finish today our discussion of last week. Last week we began the discussion on the description of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam as Khuzanul Ilm. Khuzan, we said, is the plural of Khazin, from the root Khazana. In other words, a Khazin is someone who collects, guards, and safekeeps something. What do they safekeep? They safekeep ilm. Knowledge is kept safe and it's kept guarded by Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. However, knowledge is not a physical thing, it's a metaphysical thing. So where does that get kept safe? On the heart of the Imam. Therefore, when you talk about a metaphysical thing on the heart of an Imam, it becomes one with the Imam. So it's not like me or you learning something that, okay, 1 minute it's in our mind, the next minute it can be not in our mind. No, the heart of the Imam is very special. It contains this knowledge, hence it cannot be separated from him. Now, we discussed also the importance of the taqiyya of knowledge, that not every knowledge, not everything that we know or that is in our religion should be communicate. It's not like that. We have to be very careful. Some of our teachings, they require a lot of muqaddama, a lot of introduction, a lot of foundation, a lot of setting the scene, establishing other principles before you can get to the thing that you actually want to say. It cannot be said to anyone at any time, just without any restriction. We have to be very careful in this regard. And Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have told us this again and again. So let us look at a couple of reports in this regard. The first one from our fifth Imam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. Imam Baqir says to his students, لو كان لألسنتكم أوكيا لحدثت كل امرئ له وعليه. He said, look, it felt that your tongues had a little bit of control. If you could restrain yourselves at times, then believe me, I would have told every single one of you everything in your favor and everything that was against you. In other words, I could reveal to you everything about your life. I could open the doors of knowledge for you to have access to the things that you would otherwise not know. But because I know people, I know lay people, I know everyday people, not like us Ahlul Bayt, they can't keep a control on their tongue. Therefore, I don't reveal everything. Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam says, Ma kallama Rasulullah. The Holy Prophet never spoke anything, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-ibad bi kunhi aqlihi. He never said anything to the servants of life, meaning the people. He never said anything to the people from the depths of his own intelligence. Why? Why, Rasulullah? You were with us. You could have told us so many nice and interesting things. No, that's not the way it works. He doesn't tell you those things that you don't have the capacity to bear. Imagine Rasulullah told us the secrets of the heavens and the earth. Imagine he went into the depths of his intellect and knowledge. People did not have the capacity to bear it. Therefore, Imam Sadiq says the Holy Prophet never spoke from the depths of his intellect with anyone because the people did not have the capacity. This is very, very important to understand. So why do we have a taqiyya? Why did the Imams have a selective way of discussing the knowledge they had, declaring what they knew? Why? Because if you don't have that control upon yourself, if your tongue runs away with you and you say all sorts of things without control, this can lead to misunderstanding. People can misunderstand you. People can become confused. They may even deny They may say, what rubbish is he talking? I've never heard of this. You've never heard of it because you're ignorant. It's not that it's not true, but your capacity is not ready to accept it. They may even lead to disbelief. How can this be true? I don't understand this. This cannot be right. This is not my religion. Sometimes that can come through ignorance, that the person telling you is actually telling you the truth, but because you don't have capacity, maybe you don't have the background for it, you are not ready to accept it, it could lead to disbelief. People can mock religion when we don't present it at the right time in the right way. So either the listeners didn't have the capacity to hear those things and they react in this way, or it could be that even the speaker speaking has poorly understood these concepts and he should not even be speaking about this in the first place. Unfortunately, in the community, both of these things happen. We need to make sure that they don't. The appeal is to the speakers to have a little bit of control on what they say, not to talk things that are way above people or way below people, but also the public to understand that sometimes this discernment can be a bit difficult, and not to jump on everything that is said with the flavor of disbelief or mocking or these kinds of things. All of these things, they have a backing, but we need to understand those, so we need to be very careful. In short, finishing off this Khuzanul Ilm debate, we will say that the speaker has to be very careful, understand when, where, and to whom you are speaking. If you do this, then inshallah you can claim to be somewhere near being a guard and a safekeeper of knowledge. Of course, the ultimate guards and safekeepers were Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Wa muntahal hilm. This is our new part which we are going to discuss today. O Ahlul Bayt, Assalamu alaykum ya Ahl Bayt al-Nubuwwa, until we come to Wa muntahal hilm. In reality, what are we saying? We're saying Assalamu alaykum ya muntahal hilm. Muntaha is isme makan, from babe iftial, from the root word nahi, which is it of amr. When we say amr bil ma'ruf, nahi anil munkar, amr and nahi are two opposites. Nahi means to stop something, to prohibit something. When put into the iftial, muntaha is a place at which something stops and reaches its highest and utmost limit. It cannot go beyond this. So it's the very peak of a thing. And beyond that, it cannot go any further. So the uppermost limit of something is called its muntaha. So you are the muntaha of what? You are the uppermost limit of what? Of hilm. What is hilm? Hilm is a very special quality. Hilm is the discipline of oneself from the ill effects of anger and other emotions, in a way that the person remains tranquil, peaceful, and steadfast in the face of unpleasantness. The person, when confronted with something unpleasant, it can often disturb us. We can become angry, emotional, upset, and then because of those emotions, we can do and say things which are not right, which we may come to regret. So we can become a little or unwise or foolish. But a person with hilm doesn't do that. He or she remains in control of their emotions, even in the face of anger and unpleasantness, and they do not behave in an unwise and foolish way. They do not lose their temper. Or we can put it like this. Hilm is the point of perfect equilibrium in the faculty of anger. And the person who has hilm is known as halim. And this is someone who does not have a position of any extreme. Neither are they totally relaxed, free, and laid back about everything, nor are they angry and brutish and always reacting to everything. Typically, where is this used? Typically, we use it in Islamic teachings to refer to someone who does not rush to punish other people and enact revenge on other people, despite having the ability to do so. This is known as halim. So in a word in English, what we usually use is forbearance. So when you're forbearing, you have these qualities which we just mentioned. وَمُنْتَهَى الْحِلْمِ. Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are the uppermost limit. The most forbearing that you can think of are Ahlul Bayt. There cannot be any more forbearing than these people. So here we are saying to Ahlul Bayt that you have reached the pinnacle and uppermost level of hilm and forbearance. This is the level which is the maximum of any creature to possibly reach. Now, there is a debate in akhlaq that we often see ilm and hilm coming together. So just now we had khuzan al-ilm and now we have muntaha al-hilm. And in hadith as well, ilm and hilm come together a lot. Knowledge and forbearance. Because these two things have a close relationship. The fruits of knowledge can be appreciated when they come alongside the quality of forbearance. A hadith states the following: لَنْ يَثْمُرَ الْعِلْمُ حَتَّى يُقَارِنَهُ الْحِلْمُ. Knowledge will never bear fruit until and unless it is accompanied by forbearance. Imagine you had a knowledgeable person who was arrogant, who was angry, who was emotional, who would outburst. You can't benefit from someone like that. No one would like to be around a person like that. If you are a scholar, if you are scholarly, if you have knowledge, if you give this knowledge to others, you have to have a lot of forbearance so people can sit in your company and they can benefit from you. Otherwise, it's very difficult to benefit from someone like that, with that kind of attitude and that kind of behavior. So with forbearance, a person's knowledge becomes stronger and more sophisticated. And a knowledgeable person who is also halim will reach much more profound and complete results and conclusions. Even their research will be better because they don't have this anger and upset and emotions running around in them. They are calm, they are tranquil, they are cool, they can see things objectively, and they can do much better, richer, more mature results and conclusions. And of course, this works both ways. This works both ways. Because at sometimes we see that, for example, the first Imam alayhi salam has said, ilm is the root and origin of forbearance, and forbearance is the source of the beauty of ilm. So they both work very close together. In other words, these two things are very much linked. They should come together to produce their best results and outcomes. Knowledge without forbearance will not produce its best results. Forbearance without knowledge will not be a stable platform. The more you have of one, the more you need of the other. And together they work to produce something very special. In this regard, Allama Majlisi has said something very nice indeed. He says 4 points. First point is, when a person has knowledge but no forbearance, Allah takes that knowledge away. Number 2, in this same situation, when a person has knowledge but no forbearance, also reduces the impact of forbearance on such a person. So even he will struggle to find this forbearance. Number 3, as a result, what will happen? Because that person no longer has the ability to withstand the difficulties of learning, because to study and to learn, you need a lot of forbearance, you need a lot of sabr, hilm, tahammul, be able to take a lot of crap from people, crap from life, crap from your situation. It's very difficult, especially in religious knowledge, it's very difficult to acquire religious knowledge. So because he won't have capacity and forbearance to withstand all this nonsense, other people associated with him, such as his teachers, his other students, his classmates, his peers, they won't like his company anymore. So if you don't have the company of your fellow scholars, how will you learn? One of the things that we experience in the Hawza is the company with other students and teachers and researchers. That is one of the key things in the Hawza, that because you're surrounded in this area all the time, because you're in this bubble all the time, you are learning all the time. But if you're someone who people can't stand your company, it's going to be very difficult for you to stay in that kind of bubble and benefit from people. 4th point, Allama Majlisi says, as a result of all this, people do not benefit from his knowledge because they can't stand to be with him. and nor does he have the strength and determination to learn from others. He's given and he sacrificed his forbearance. He can't be forbearing. He gets agitated and emotional very easily. So also he can't stand to be in the company of other people. Hence, ilm and hilm come very nicely together. Now, our Imams. Our Imams, which is of course, the whole Ziyarat is dedicated to our Imams. Their forbearance was of another level. Now imagine, you have all that power at your disposal. If you want to understand power, look at our previous sessions. You have all that knowledge at your disposal. Knowledge accessible by them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imagine how much you can do. You can do anything. You have basically unlimited knowledge and unlimited power. Should you wish, you can crush your enemies. You can cause all sorts of mayhem and chaos. But no, still with this knowledge and power, they took punishment. They took abuse. They were imprisoned. They were disrespected. They were killed. They were poisoned. They were massacred. All of these things happened to them. Imagine the forbearance they had, that despite having all of this ability, all of the knowledge and power at their disposal, they chose to succumb to these things because it was in the best interests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his mission, his plan for the universe, and their own obligations towards him. Otherwise, without forbearance, it's very difficult to take so much from people and have the ability at the same time to do things differently, but still you forego that and you remain patient and forbearing. Now, here we have an interesting discussion which comes. The discussion is, okay, we've discussed what is hilm, but sometimes when we talk about forbearance and hilm and halim, what do you think? Sometimes you can think of a very weak, feeble, frail person, very much weak. He's a pushover, he's a walkover. People treat him like a doormat. Is that hilm? Is that what hilm is? That we should be just a victim of abuse? We should, be weak and feeble? Well, let's discuss this. Hilm, it is not to remain idle and simply take things that are unpleasant and never rise up or speak out. No, that is not hilm at all. A person does not act rashly, hastily, childishly, foolishly. Otherwise, a person who just remains resigned and doesn't do anything about all the unpleasantness around him or her, they have not correctly made use of the faculty of anger which Allah has given them and has not achieved that equilibrium state of anger. So now, what is hilm properly? Well, one who achieves that middle position of hilm, the equilibrium position, may take action, but that action is qualified with what? With steadfastness, forbearance, restraint, not acting rashly and foolishly and angrily. In other words, what we say in Farsi, he's waqt shanas. He understands what to do, when and how. He just doesn't act rashly and brashly and angrily. He says the appropriate thing and takes the appropriate action at the appropriate time. For example, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, have you seen the level of his hilm? Can you imagine the level of his hilm? Ghadir, his right is taken, his wife is beaten and killed, his baby miscarries, so many things happen, but he remains halim. He said, no, there's a bigger picture here. It's not that I'm just being a victim without any reason. No, there's a reason behind my hilm, my forbearance. And that is because Islam is very young. If I go out now with the strength and power that I have, this Islam will go. And this is not what I want. This same Ali says what? He's, on the other hand, so brave, so strong. He says things like this, Wallahi law tadhaharat al-Arab ala qitali lama wallayt. I swear by Allah, if all of the Arabs stood against me to kill me, it doesn't make any difference to me. I will not turn away. I'll stand up to them. Don't worry. This is my strength. This is my bravery. But when the time comes, I will be forbearing. And when the time comes, I will take action appropriately. Also regarding Ali alayhi salam, فَإِنِّي lam, he says, I surely will have never ran away from any battle قط, at all, ever. وَلَمْ يُبَارِزْنِي أَحَدٌ إِلَّا سَقَيْتُ الْأَرْضَ مِنْ دَمِهِ. No one has ever come in front of me in a battle to fight me, except that his blood has ended up spilling on the floor. In other words, I finished him when the time was right. When the time of fighting was there, I fought. When the time of sabr was there, I had sabr. In this regard, Agha gives a very nice little poem from the Gulistan of Sa'adi on Naman Basham ke Rooz Jang Bini Pushte Man, regarding Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, look, I'm not that person that on the day of the battle, you'll see my back. You're not going to see me running away from the battlefield. You won't see my back ever in the battlefield. You're not going to see me running away, chickening off. On manam gardar miyane khak wa khun bini sari. That it's me that you will see, that around me you'll see the floor covered in heads and blood. That's me in the battlefield. So helm is not that you just become resigned to everything, that you become a victim, that you never do anything. No, you do appropriate at the right time in the right manner. And this kind of approach of Amir al-Mu'mineen is seen throughout his life. You'll see at times he's the ferocious one in battle. You'll see at times that he's the most ba-sabr, the most patient at other times. When was his patience extremely tested? There were a number of occasions, but he cites one of them himself, khutbah number 3 of Nahjul Balagha. I would request you all, as many people that see this video, to go and look at khutbah number 3. This is the famous khutbah Shik Shaqiyya. In it, he describes what happened after Rasulullah left this world. فَرَأَيْتُ أَنَّ الصَّبْرَ عَلَى هَاتَا أَحْجَى. I know what happened to me, but I found that endurance at that time was wiser. فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَضَى. So I adopted patience, although there was a pricking in the eye. Imagine you have a thorn in your eye. Would it even give you 1 second of peace and comfort? You could not even bear it. It would be there all the time, and it would just drive you crazy. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, my sabr was like that. There was like a thorn in my eye, but I had to remain with patience. So I adopted patience, although there was a pricking in the eye. وَفِي الْحَلْكِ شَجَى, and suffocation in the throat. I felt my throat was being suffocated. Ara turathi nahban, I watched the plundering of my inheritance, meaning his right after Rasulullah to succeed him properly. Hatta madal awwalu lisabilih, until the first one went his way, meaning Abu Bakr. The first one, I was watching all of this until the first one went on his way, meaning he died. And then what happened? Did it come to me? Was that the 2.5 years of sabr finished? No. فَأَدْلَى بِهَا إِلَى الْإِبْنِ الْخَطَّابِ بَعْدَ. He died, but then he handed over the caliphate to Umar ibn al-Khattab after himself. In other words, I'm famous for my battles and my warrior status. I'm the lion of Allah. I'm Asadullah. I'm Yadullah. I'm Ainullah. I'm all of these things, yes, but at times I will have to adopt sabr and hilm, and I will have to see what is the appropriate action at the appropriate time. So this insan kamil, this complete human being, this wonderful, majestic, angelic human being who is Amir al-Mu'mineen, he knows when to have patience. He knows when to sever the evil head of greed and jealousy of the camel of Jamal. He knows when to strike the disloyal oath breakers of the Khawarij at Nahrawan. He knows when to flourish Zulfiqar upon the armies of Siffin, who were pushing Islam towards kufr and were mixing dirty politics with religion. He knows those times, and he knows the times where he has to remain sabir, halim, forbearing, patient, when it comes to Islam survival, unity of the ummah, the young days of Islam, not wanting to let the efforts of Rasulullah and all the previous prophets that went before him go to waste. No, he had to be halim at that moment. He had to be forbearing. The same can be said of Imam Hassan's treaty with Muawiyah, Imam Hussein's journey to Kufa and then to Karbala and sacrificing everything for Islam. And the same goes for all of our Imams. They were all very much muntahal helm. They had the uppermost limit of helm and forbearance. Next week, inshallah, we will cover wa usul al-karam and maybe a bit more, inshallah, if we have time. I will just wait a few seconds. If there are any questions from any of the viewers, then we can take them now. You can write on the YouTube chat, or the Facebook chat, I think, also comes through. And I'll just wait for a few seconds. If there are anything, then inshallah you can send them. We'll answer them. Otherwise, we will finish. خیلی خوب. It seems there's no questions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi